the exact same draft as the previous game. And there it is, the Jack's locked in as well. This is pick for pick, exactly the same so far. There's Angel's Ahri. Both teams saying, look, we liked how the draft went last time. It was more about execution.
I think that makes a lot of sense considering that the game was very back and forth. I think both teams can kind of look at those games and say, oh, you know, maybe if we just did this thing differently. Maybe if, say, Rare Adam didn't make that, you know, that awkward play towards topside just after they'd taken Herald. Maybe that works out differently. And Q can start snowballing through side lanes harder than he did in that game one. So RNG walked away with the win, so they'll happy with that one. Now they're going to start banning out some of the champions which can pin Ahri back in lane. So that's probably going to be the LeBlanc banned away as well in the second ban. RA banning away the Cannon and the Scion last time in this second round but rotation.
So Lysandra taken off the board. And I believe it was LeBlanc.
Yes.
In the previous game. And this, yeah, I think we'll see. We'll see if they're going to go for the same. No, taking Strive Silas off the board instead. So not liking that matchup from the previous game. You see RA still grins on the faces despite that loss, despite just being knocked out of playoffs. They're coming in feeling good into game 2.
Yeah. Holding up the scoreboard there for, I believe that was one of Gala's Kai'Sa games. On the other side, though, well, actually, we're going to have the last pick, AD carry, again on the table for RNG. Are we just going to see the Kai'Sa locked in again? Because they have the RA are going to change things up again. They're not going to lock in the LeBlanc, which was left open from what was banned in game 1. They're going to lock in Ryze and locking in Nautilus. So lots of abilities to start fights with the Nautilus with the Wukong follow-up. And also some ability to play around the side lanes in the way which RA kind of lacked a little bit in that last time. Felt like Strive was locked into lane, even in mid-game as well. The side was going to struggle to kind of get side lane push. Ryze much better at that, and of course that Realm Orb adds in an extra factor. With that in mind, a bit of a change from the side of RNG as well. It's Zeri locked in over the Kai'Sa.
All right, so more. I mean, Kai'Sa's still a late game team fighting AD carry, but Zeri is in another category of late game team fighting AD carry, right? A lot of late game prowess available there for RNG. We'll see if that affects the early game at all, because we saw Wei impacting that bottom lane pretty significantly, trying to shut down Sssum. We'll see if he's still going to do that with a Zeri in the bottom lane. Generally speaking, very similar compositions. I think the biggest difference is Strive playing the Ryze instead of the Silas, right? God, and bringing a very, very close game number 1 against RNG. We'll see if they can repeat that here for game 2.
Yeah, talk about Rare Atom's chances having been kind of blown away to the winds at this point, but there is still something up their sleeve, and they'll know it well as Rare Atoms. It's the element of surprise. Munch, actually they can pull that out in this one. The rarest of all. See if they can use that to great effect, particularly with Cube back on his Jax. A bit more ability now for Rare Atom to actually follow up in side lanes, have the Ryze shadowing his lane, seeing if that can be a big factor. RNG don't necessarily have the same tools to deal with.
Angel moving over towards Ming. Just going to drop a ward in the river. So if Leyan tries to go for any kind of cheeky invades, any shenanigans there will be spotted out. But a good ward from Strive as well. Spotted out. I'm not sure if that'll spot the chickens or not. I think not.
No, but it would spot if Wei went for something really cheeky like an early gank towards mid. You can see that Strive, with that in mind, wants to probably be pushing up the lane a little bit more. One of the things about the last game is that obviously Angel took the air, he was pushing it very early, taking hard trades. This time, Strive wants a bit more ability to push in this wave, and stop Angel and Wei having uncontested access to the river at the first kind of opportunity.
Cube and Breathe already going at it in the top side. Cube looking fantastic in this matchup in game number 1. Breathe, so far, will be pushed in slightly. So with Cube getting close to level 2 in a couple of minions time, Breathe will surely have to just respect that. Back away a little bit. Let's talk about our junglers here.
Yeah, because the last time we saw RA do that thing where they kind of they're patented, we'll do at least one gank top lane and see what happens after that point. The reason why that worked out last time is because Cube, I'm trying to remember if he bounced the second wave instead of the third one. Sometimes we see that a little bit because it allows you to have the wave in a very good spot for junglers to have access towards your lane as opposed to you having access towards the enemy jungle. Bot lane also fighting pretty heavily.
Seems to be the trade pattern of this matchup, right? We saw it a lot in game number 1 as well, where Ming out of position, gets hooked in. Immediately, you get the Q, you get one auto, and then you get the E just to get that damage chain down. Keep with the level advantage. Trading heavily onto Breathe here. Should be able to crash the wave.
Yeah, crashing in third wave this time, going for that cannon, making sure that... Oh, Ryze is actually heading up towards topside. Let's talk about that. So it's actually going to be a slightly later crash than what RA did in game number 1. Maybe trying to use that kind of difference from game 1 to make RNG a little bit uncomfortable. Not going to lead to anything though. Strive, as we said, trying to push in early. That early ward didn't spot out Wei clearing through that top side, but it did give him a bit more safety towards his own lane. He came from the top side. Gave them an option towards top side. Doesn't lead to anything this time though.
Sssum should be able to shove this wave in the bottom side as well, and Leyan playing off of that priority goes in to get some deep vision in the bottom jungle before going for his scuttle crab. So nice information gained, but look at Wei trying to go for a lane gang in the top lane. But in fact, he might just go for the recall.
Yeah, because the one thing you can do at that point in the game, I don't think this is kill pressure on mid lane, is it? I don't think so. You'd have a flash rune prism, but that's it. You're going to force a flash Ksante maybe?
Doesn't even need to flash for the rune prism and will get the flash out from Angel. So Leyan very happy with the way that gang's gone and even gets the second scuttle crab.
Yeah, and the wave is going to be pushing back. You see Strive is not like going to be like hard pushing this lane. I think that's actually going to be, yeah. So he's going to leave it here, deny an extra minion away from Angel, who has to teleport back in. Does get the Dark Seal first back this time. Nice. I like it when that happens. Gives you a bit more stacking potential. Cube once again though on top side, talking about wave states, has the wave pushing towards him, which means that Breathe now has to contend with a long lane to get back against. Cube very happy to just keep this wave on his side of the lane, threaten Breathe with the same kind of death she had first off in the last game.
Yeah, a really good ward there from Breathe as well. Just in case anyone steps out of the tri-brush, Wei has found
Gala can hop over the wall, remember?
Into the bottom side of the map. Sssum in big trouble here. Ignite already burning, and Wei even dodges the hook. It's a beautiful gank for first blood for Gala.
Was RA, looked like they were setting up towards something on top side, and then by process of elimination, maybe RNG say, hang on, maybe there's an opening towards the bot side as well. Cube has this wave under tower now, but it's not like he can really do much with that wave at this point. Breathe actually manages to shove that in. The end spotted on the bot side of the map. Breathe gets to save himself from having an awkward lane state. Dragon now up as well with the early bot side plays, with resets coming in because of that too. Maybe we'll see a start towards that from one team at the other. Looks like RA is going to be the first team towards that one. And Strive pick up the first neutral objective of the game, but Wei just sticking his head around the corner.
Yeah, Ming is in base though, so you would assume that RA can finish this one off unless Wei really wants to just throw his body at getting that first smite down. No, the observers have said no.
The observers said no, there will be no fight here. So what's happening here? Oh, Wei manages to get really around it. That is the next level. Knows that there was a deep ward put in over that wall, hops around that one, hops over the Scotland Shrine, gets a second Q cooldown up, backsteps the hook and then nails Sssum. This guy, MVP of game 1, comes out in game 2, and that's an absolute corker of play. I love that.
Yeah, really good communication from RNG as well, right? Where they're giving him the information of what's been warded, where is that vision down, and Wei playing around it beautifully. And
I love that.
Giving Leyan a run for his money, honestly, at this point. He has been completely in control of this jungle matchup.
It reminds me of, remember like the secret, do you remember that old Nunu clip from Bengi back on SKT back in like season 5 or something? Where he walks around all the Callista Sentinels? That was a really fun gang back then.
Oh,
it reminds me a little bit of that. It reminds me a little bit of that. Wait, give himself a bit more, okay, see what's happening on the bot side.
Bit of damage on Ming. Gala's going forwards though, and they actually get the knock up onto Sssum. He doesn't have summoner spells up. Ming low though, and will be taken out. Gala misses the W, and he can't get the kills in. It's a complete fumble from RNG, but beautiful 2v2 from RA.
Huge turnaround from the Xayah Nautilus, and Gala whiffs the W, whiffs a couple of autos in there as well. Southwind playing blocker after the piercing shots have gone down from the spark surge of that E. Now, big goal over towards that Xayah. And, you know, we're talking about game 1 being a pretty close affair, pretty back and forth. Giving over 2 kills to a bot lane like this, that can really be scary. How did this start off? Started off with a hook and a blade caller. With those big cooldowns down, you can probably see the angle where Ahri wants to play through this, right? The piercing shots go down. Gala flashes on top of Sssum, but just flashes over him, so the auto attack misses. Yeah, Zeri can miss auto attacks. The biggest thing, by the way, the kill goes the other way.
Certainly does. Now, Both
maybe we need to get into like maybe we need like aiming tool or something like that. Like you know, like a lot of like something like Valorant has like the aim practice tool. Maybe we need that for like specifically Zeri.
Hey, I mean, practice tool does exist in League of Legends. I don't know what else you can do aside from set up a bunch of dummies and queue them. Certainly an option. I don't know if Gala's going to go for that. I feel like generally Gala's mechanics pretty on point.
Yes, he's actually been pretty good, but that was just a little awkward.
But I feel like everywhere Leyan goes across the course of this series, Wei is there. Wei, he's read the Leyan playbook, and he's just currently flipping from page to page, figuring out, okay, it's 8 minutes in game 2 of a series in Leyan's Wukong. Here's what he's going to do. It just seems to know exactly every play.
Well, is it like a choose your own adventure book? Is it got like a certain genre for it? Because right now it seems like it's a nautical tale of Bilgewater, Ryze, and Nautilus in the mid lane.
I'm going to be honest, it feels like, at least for Leyan, it's a horror book. It's jump scares galore because Wei just keeps on hopping out of nowhere. Speaking of though, Leyan does manage to get this Herald. This is exactly what happened in game number 1 as well, where Leyan just gets the solo Herald.
But the last time, Cupid already got a lead on that top side, had a CS advantage, had the kill, and had a much more ability to kind of play around their Jax. Looks like that maybe they're looking towards lane instead. RNG, a lot of members on bot side, a lot of vision on bot side. Alright, this jungle is not yours right now, and you can see the hesitation, the back steps, before they head into their own jungle. Maybe trying to use that clone, the warrior trickster, disengage. Doesn't have to at this point. They spot RNG heading out of the bushes.
Yeah, I think they suspected something was going on because RNG did a very similar play in the previous game, but Wei manages to steal away the big chicken. He did this to the blue buff in the previous game as well, hiding in Fog of War, then zips in to steal the count.
And that's just insult to injury. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that Wei. He's been reading up on, it reminds me of the, you know that Monty Python skit? Might be a bit of a deep cut. You know the one is like, how not to be seen, and it's kind of this whole thing about like choosing very obvious hiding places. Wei is like taken. He's graduated that class with flying clothes, not like that one. Strive now in a bit of danger in this mid lane. Might have to blow the flash.
A bit of danger. He is done so. Look at the combo onto him. Although he does walk away with his life for the time being. Leyan trying to finish off Wei. The Cyclone denies the Q. Leyan low. Strive TP's out. Not done so after all.
Yeah, maybe I was a bit wrong. It's like, as you can see, Wei has chosen a very obvious hiding spot. Comes right out of the bot jungle where Ahri knew he was all along, and Strive absolutely cuts him down to size. Had the Merc Treads before that play, which meant that some of that CC did not come through. Some of that damage was cut down on as well. Leyan gets another kill, in one of these early games. I like the initial attempt. It's just the damage not quite there in terms of the calculation. Tenacity very, very big as well. Leyan, perfect place at the perfect time. That's the disengage. Cyclone ultimate leads to the kill.
Fantastic stuff coming out from Leyan, coming out from RA, and now this time Herald comes down in the mid lane. I was going to say Strive's going to be there to get the gold, but no, it's all of the gold going to Leyan once again.
Wait, that happened last game too.
Yeah, at least this time it's 2 plays instead of just the 1. So silver linings, and off the back of a positive previous play, it does mean that this time RA have a gold lead in the early game. I think the gold lead was similar in the previous game, just in favor of RNG. This time RA in control with 2 Drakes as well.
Yeah, and compared to the last game, the Jax is not, running over his top lane matchup as well. Ended up taking that tower solo, actually. Remember, Breathe kind of felt like he was forced to kind of come down and join the group in around second Dragon, I believe it was. And then Q kind of took this tower solo after that point. So, very interested to see now what Rare Atom are going to do about this topside matchup. Is not going nearly as favorably as they had expected for game 1. Angel is making a play towards his topside, all just coming off the cooldown. You see that given the lack of information about where mid laners are, Cube backs off. Breathe following the wave, a dangerous spot for the Jax.
Yeah, it certainly is, making it difficult for Cube to really push out too far. Let's talk mid game then, Nymaera, because I feel like we've kind of, while there's still been some action in this game, not as much chaos as the previous one. Like, how are we anticipating these two teams approach the mid game, especially RA, who have the advantage currently and want to keep snowballing?
A lot of this is about vision control, particularly when you have big engaged supports. We haven't had that for all the spring, of course, but we've had them for the last number of years. I'm sure you'll remember how these plays out. You get Fog of War, you get very, very dangerous at that point, especially with the Ahri Vi on one side and North's on the other. I think RA, they're the ones which need to be kind of securing vision. They want to be really pushing in around something like a Jax and then looking maybe for something like a Ryze. It's one of the set plays you see on Ryze, where you kind of shadow a lane as opposed to sonicking a mid lane. But yeah, you see that Ryze with the ult allows you to kind of just back up one of these lanes, which can get a bit more contentious. That's what I want to see from them.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't even get the Sonic reference for a second there. I thought you were talking about
Shadow?
Lee Sin's Q.
Yeah, like shadow a lane, Sonic a lane.
Yeah, I get it now.
Gotta really knuckle down in the hard situations. Yeah, I'll work on it next time. I'll workshop it.
I mean, look, sometimes you flip a coin for a joke, and this one was definitely a tails. Big play in the top side is Striving Leyan moving in way. Hanging around, though. This would be 2v3, but there's a tower in play for RNG. Surely RA just have to back away.
Yeah, it's got a bit egg-shaped. I don't want to see a doctor about that one. RNG going towards the top side. They don't have the vision for this.
Ming will be able to just skip away. The Cyclone blown there by Leyan, but won't find the play. I feel like this was a lot committed from RA to try and make this play happen, because in the meantime, Gala's just free pushing in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I think I mean, this is the kind of play that we wanted to see, right? Them kind of going towards another lane, kind of collapsing on a pushing lane like Cubes, but they can't force the play, and they didn't have something like a Herald to chuck in that lane either, because the second one's not just spawn. RNG, by pure fact that nothing has happened, end up winning because, as you said, they're farming more lanes. They've got more people in other areas of the map. Gala walks away, thinking like a free lane of farm for a little bit, with no threat on his lane.
Yeah, fantastic stuff for Gala. Got himself those 2 plates. Farm just about even between the 2 AD carries, but Zeri gonna be wanting to just play for the late game if you can. Shield bow now online with a Zeal on top of it as well, so big recall there for the likes of Gala. Next ring, not up for another 2 minutes. A Herald coming up in 15 seconds. I feel like RA probably need to grab that. They probably need to keep this snowball.
That'll be big for them. And it also allows them to have a longer lane to play around the Jax and the Ryze, where they can actually try and get an extended ability to play around the map. Give them some ability to get some vision. With that in mind, head towards that Herald. All on that one. Leyan and Strive heading towards that. They have a Realm Warp right after this point. Looks around too long. Doesn't look like it should come to that, though. Strive is going to be seen on vision just now. So Breed has full information. Topside is the object of RA's kind of desire right now. Ah, that's a teleport.
Certainly is. Cube trying to defend this bot lane tier 1. And because Gala's playing on the, he actually might be able to if he just gets in between the bullets, but with way here, Cube doomed. Flash already used, but the quickness there. And Cube, the counter strike will keep him alive for a second. Can he escape under the tower? No! Way shuts it down, puts a fist in his face, but now RA answer in the mid lane as a tier 2 might just be taken down here. Recall's being challenged from RNG as a 3rd charge might even come on through. Big play for RA.
It's a big play for them, but on the other side of this, you know, if we had a dime for every time that Cube teleported into kind of like that area of bot lane and died for it in awkward situations, we'd only have 2 dimes. It's kind of strange that that's happened 2 games back to back. Cube goes down, and the side laning option for RA is still not really online. The towers being down in mid lane, they definitely help. They allow you to get vision. As you can see now, some blue wards being littered across entrances to the jungle of RNG's side of the map. But they don't have a long lane for the Ryze and the Jax to really get their map control down on. This is kind of the opposite of what you expect from a draft like this. It'll be very weird to see how the lane pushes work out around the next few objectives.
I feel like RNG absolutely love playing around this red buff area, using that vision, drop the control ward there. As Breed finds a knockback. No follow-up onto Sssum here. Way, shatters Angel over the wall. The Rune Prism keeps him still, though. And he has to dash away with his ultimate Leyan and getting the Cyclone onto 1, but can't really do all of too much. It's ultimate for ultimate here. Angels for Leyan's. There's Angel getting another charm. And it feels like we're fully at arm's length in this fight.
See, that Angel feels really safe because he has a stopwatch in inventory, trying to go forwards, uses HP as a resource. Doesn't have the ult now, though. How much does this give RA its entrance into this fight?
4K on the Drake. Cube behind enemy lines could be massive. Southwind gets the hook, but Gala already stacking here. Here comes Cube. Flash from Gala. Keeps himself alive. And now look at the lightning chaining up in this fight. Gala huge, but the rest of the team's already dead. Gala goes over the wall and just gets wrecked.
I mean, RNG, they used their big cooldowns just before this fight started. They get a hook onto them, and Cube gets into the backline in a way which he somewhat struggled to do in game-ending fights in game number 1. Still had a strong performance, but at this point, for that Dragon, RA very importantly take themselves a soul point. Yes, it's just a chemsec one, it's not the most valuable thing, but they get themselves a big fight after this point. There's so many members dead from RNG. I want to see what happens with these turrets after this point. Whether RA can open up the map. Sssum gets so much value done on this side. Backline access from both of these teams. Yeah, I mean, the backline access from both these teams really all over the place. You see that both AD carries pretty much end this fight full HP up until Gala decides to put his body upon the altar of Sssum. A little bit.
Yeah. It was a bit of a weird one from RNG. Honestly, I was looking at Gala at the start of the fight. I was thinking, okay, Zeri stacking up, but kind of forgot the fact that we're too early in the game for Zeri to just fully stack and 1v5 a fight at the end of it. And I think Gala didn't realize that as well. Just gets locked down by Strive, and the rest of the team piles on. And in the meantime, in the outright front to back, RA winning it out in damage, winning it out in just sustain throughout the fight as well. The Jax causes so much of a ruckus. Leyan as well with his clone buying so much time for the team. So feels like good stuff for RA because they've got 3 Drakes now off the back of that as well. They're 1 point away from Soul.
Which means, I mean, and again, it's not the most powerful Soul in the game, but it's still something for them. When you have a lot of HP builders, which kind of can survive around the half HP or below it, of course, that's when the Soul kind of comes online, the 10% damage increase, 10 damage reduction to you. Gives you some value for that. The most interesting thing for me now, with those objectives in mind, how much can Ahri get on side lanes finally there? Fishing for a fight.
The Ryze there, Ignite, take it away. I don't think it's quite enough.
14 HP.
16 HP. That is something special.
Close run stuff. See the RA again, they're trying to just kind of like go into one lane, collapse numbers into it when they've got the push around someone. This time it's not going to be the Jax, it's around the pushing bot lane. RNG not able to completely disengage that one, and now suddenly side lanes are starting to get a little bit more open from RA. Can they do the same thing towards this bot side? That'd be important for them. A lot of standing gold for someone like Cube or Strive to get into those lanes and collect. Leyan as well, also being the beneficiary of a lot of these players, heading up towards second item on a pretty good rate at this point. And I hate to say this is again getting quite similar to game number 1, but this felt quite similar to game number 1. It felt like RA had the side lanes down pat. They managed to get themselves a gold lead. Of course, a lot of that came around just a couple of minutes later in game 1, but they managed to get an important pick into a Baron. Not sure that'll be as easy to replicate, but RNG on the other side be a little bit wary now of the fights that they're picking.
I certainly do. I will say, for RNG, if it's similar to game number 1, then RA are going to throw at least 2 more times, and RNG will throw a couple of times as well. But then when we get to the late game, they do have a Zeri. That's always a factor in these games where maybe that's just enough by itself to win. We'll have to see, because RA currently in complete control. 3,000 gold lead. 3 Drakes with the next one coming up in 2 minutes. Vision control off the Baron area for the time being. And this was the big weakness from RA. We saw this NG way going in. As Ming follows up as well. The Cyclone Connect disrupting everything though. And RNG, they're in all kinds of trouble. Look at a counter strike onto the back line. And even the Realm Warp to try and chase Gala down. He's looking to escape, but Strive flashes forward and finishes the job. RNG are starting these fights, and they still go awry.
But it's happened again. It happened again. Last game they started the fight, died a minute later into game 1. I gave up the Baron. Same thing happens. RA gonna walk away. This time with Soul Point in this game. This time with a large gold lead. They're walking away with a huge Baron with a lot of tower gold ready for them to go collect, especially on that bot lane. 2 towers actually able to be crushed through there. And you're absolutely right. RNG once again choosing these fights. The Gala's not doing damage. They're not hitting Sssum. They're not hitting Strive. Yeah, maybe you think you can pick off the enemy jungler just as Baron spawns. I get the logic of that, trying to get the spy off the table. But this is so over-ambitious. And this could very much cost them this game too.
And it's a weird position to be in for RNG, isn't it? This is a team that most people expect them to be guaranteed for playoffs every single time. As Angel face checks in, thought he was safe because of Way's position. Will survive with a corrupting potion there. The charm in onto Leyan. It's the perfect bait from Angel to flash out. And they do get the pick. 2 of the players are basically dead though. I don't know if they can still find this one. All out to Sssum, but now jumped on by Cube. Breed can't finish the kill off. Knockups from Ming. Gala stacking up, but Ming surviving only just as his top lane goes down, and Cube is still going strong here. An easy 2v1 for him on the backside of the play. Ming 1 HP, Gala 1 HP, flashes out to safety, but Cube jumps on in, and Ming under tower, alone in the world. TP is coming out from RA. There's no way Rakan survives this one. Southwind on underneath. Ming down to Cube, who is taking over these fights. Soul taken in the meantime, as I don't get a breath. Way caught out. Sssum 1v1 to the enemy jungler. RNG are falling apart.
What a ridiculous set of plays. You don't get a breath. RNG don't get a breathe either. He goes down trying to assassinate the AD carry. It doesn't work. RA, somehow, some way, they run the calculations, and yeah, that one's pretty fitting their way. Throws up the bit of the tee emote from the Poro. Bit of an oopsies there. RNG, this again mirrors a lot of what happened in that last game, taking some of these fights just as the Baron comes up, trying to stymie that push. This time it wasn't necessarily their choice. Angel's the one that's caught out. It's Leyan, once again, diving very, very deep on this Wukong. Found a lot of successes for that between these two games, but this time found on the negative end of this one.
I mean, at this point in the fight, I just don't understand it, right? You got your pick. You're now opting into a 3v4.
Exactly, and maybe they think, hey, if we get the plays at this point, they don't get to play around their Baron buff. They've already got the soul up on the table now. Now is the time to fight more than any. But you're playing against champions which do really well in extended fights, particularly when Ryze gets a lot of extra move speed. Jackson, of course, with very low Q cooldown, gets to like this, and it's the bonk power again, the power of the bonk. You might have to pull that out again, though.
Play on the top side from RNG. Okay, kick onto Leyan. Cube gets a stun onto a few people, but Gala has the damage to finish this one off. Still surviving on the backside.
Oh my
word! Time, no Jax to stop him. How on earth have they found this opportunity? Double kill for Cube. Strive left alone in the world. And RNG, it turns out they just wanted Elder Dragon on the map. The previous fight, it was all a cunning ruse.
Yeah, you know, at this point, I'm willing to say no art is original, life is all predetermined, everything runs by a script. Because this, again, feels exactly the same as game one, but RNG get a clean ace in this time of asking against that Soul. And you're right, that Soul wasn't really saving or winning the fight for Rare Adam, and now the Elder is on the table. RNG claw back a lot of gold, they claw back some turrets, and going into this fight, what are you doing at this point? You're not in range for your Ryze Realmwalk. If you're pushing in, you have to be ready to instantly respond. Strike gets there fairly quickly, but it's just not at the right timing. Gets there 4 or 5 seconds earlier. Maybe Strike can be the difference in damage they lacked in this play. Does not work out for them in this case. Gala gets to survive finally as well. On this area, he's going to continue to get stronger and stronger. What the heck's happened here? Angel has to ult away from playing that bot side.
Every time we go in a replay, shenanigans occur. I have no idea what happened. Yeah. I will say, the fact that Gala barely survived in such a one-sided fight says everything about trying to play AD carry in this game. Like, Gala now 5-4, he's on 3.5 items, and by the looks of things, headed towards a Bloodthirster, I would assume, there, as his fourth item.
I need to cut you off. The most important thing in this game has just happened. Angel has picked up a Medjay Soul Stealer. He's upgraded the Dark Seal. After the craziness of the last few fights, he goes, all right, I'll take that momentary increase in power. 3 items on the Ahri, one of them significantly cheaper than the others. Just had to mention that.
I mean, honestly, it could be more than momentary if this next fight goes well for RNG. Like, with the way that this game and this series has been going, I kind of like it. I kind of like saying, look, I'm willing to gamble on the next fight. If we win it, we win the game. If we lose it,
almost
it's
like
doomed.
This champion is to kill and gets high kill participate. What does that work towards? Oh, it's like you're not going to lose Medjay stacks. This is crazy. This item's actually really good on this champion, folks. It could actually be very important if you get another high kill fight where you're the one walking away with it. Even if it is just 5 assists, that's 10 stacks. It gets you a huge amount of AP on that item, which could be the difference maker in the fight after that point. Rare Adam RNG, they have been fighting all game long, particularly with the low-ranged top laners and jungles and supports in this game as well. If you are one of these ranged backliners that gets to escape that initial engage, very, very important that you have the damage to bring to bear. Now we're looking at this vision kind of put across the map. RNG safe in their own jungle, but haven't really got the vision to push outside of it right now. Baron has respawned. Where Adam, I have to imagine that's where they're going towards it. They do actually have Baron damage, and we'll keep it to tank.
But this time around, RNG in the area. No free Barons taken as Way could get over that wall and try for a smite fight. Are we really good at 50-50 this? I guess not, because Sssum one-shots it. Now the fight ensues as RNG trying to peel back, breathe on the front line here, and they've got good damage. Gala surviving for the time being as Strive gets onto the backside. Leyan over the wall as well. Strive flashes out safety. Leyan getting onto Gala here.
Gala.
RNG forced back. It's a good charm, though, to keep Gala alive as he's forced into Leyan, but nearly finishes the kill. Gala still going strong. Laser across the squad. But outside of Gala, RA have just won the fight.
Yeah, and somehow on the bot side of that fight, Angel doesn't manage to get away from Cube and dies as well. Was trying to think recall and then teleport back in, gets caught out. Now Gala, similar situation, he is dead to rights.
Taking down a fourth kill.
No, what is this the end of the game?
Just gonna end the game. I can't believe this game has been wacky, to say the very least. And RA, after being knocked out of playoffs in game number 1, they want revenge against RNG. They want to deny entry into playoffs from the boys in gold. RA take game 2 and play spoiler.
Look, if this is a choose your own adventure book, pretty much followed the same couple of pages for the first half of the story. Right at the end, though, things flipped drastically away. This didn't go hyper late game towards these very strange side lane situations. Second spawn of that Baron was enough to seal out this game for Rare Adam somehow, some way. And dare I say it, maybe the pressure off their shoulders adds into that. It felt like they were much less desperate heading around their side lanes. Strange teleports from someone like Cube, kind of getting him killed in the weirdest of situations. And RNG, they can't fight their way out of that second game.
Yeah, and even the play that went terribly for them in the top side that got RNG kind of back into the mix, it was kind of an unlucky play to play devil's advocate a little bit for RA, where the Scryer's Bloom spotted out Leyan, where he thought he would be safe because of the clone. The Scryer's Bloom gives vision, and then Vi can just ult that as well. So it was a little bit unlucky that they actually got caught in that prior play. So RA, generally speaking, having the advantage the entire time that game, aside from that play up in the top side, looking much cleaner than
besides
game
that,
number 1.
you know, 5 for none, clean ace team fight where everything fell apart. Yeah, that was the one time, really.
Look, they did get unlucky, though. Like, the Scryer's Bloom really did turn that fight. So, yeah, bit of a weird one. But RA, dare I say, looking kind of good in game number 2.
I can't bring myself to trust this team again, though, after how inconsistent this team has been. Started the split actually very strong. They were undefeated for the first 2 or 3 series, and then things kind of fell apart really in the mid-split. It took them a long time to find victories again, and heading towards the late split, they've reinvented themselves a little bit. They've used themselves into a new kind of atom, rarer than before, to the point where they can actually start taking a couple of games back towards the death of the split. It is just too little too late for them, but they can still play spoiler. RNG, they're not locked yet, remember. Like, they've still got some stuff to play for here.
Yeah, they certainly do. And, I mean, a couple of those fights, especially early on in the game, you do have to throw some questions towards RNG as to what the plan is. Like,
are those
to
questions
the 3v4,
like, why, God, would you do this?
Yeah, like, why is Gala jumping in 1v4 at the end of a fight when he's got 1.5 items? Like, just gets absolutely rinsed by Strive. Who, by the way, Strive, 2-1-12 this game. Like, actually insane performance on the Ryze.
Absolutely, and, you know, this is a turn away from having a bit more of a skirmishy mid laner, and something like the Silas or something like the LeBlanc, which is passed up in this game. Of course, the Lyssandra's banned in both of them, but the Ryze, you know, I really like the way that Strive played out these team fights as well. As much as we were talking about how actually, you know, something like the Ahri, very hard to kill, the Zeri was actually able to sit in the backline for a lot of this, Strive managed to do the same thing on the Ryze. We didn't necessarily call that out in all of the team fights as they have because they were so messy, but the more you look back at them, the more work Strive was doing. Big factor in that game.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Strive. We're going to jump into a break before game number 3.